Graham and Wendy, and I think we can tell who's who from the camera. You're both fellows of the college. Wendy is an honorary fellow, and Graham, since I think 2011, was made a fellow of the college. And I guess the thing that brings you to the studio today is the fact that you spent 35 years off and on in Zaire, which is now the Democratic Republic of Congo, providing dental care, missionary work, taught English, created a dental school, and all the many, many maturations of those events, which I'm sure have created a bit of a life story for you. So I guess we should start from the beginning. And as I recall, there's a photograph of a very bright-eyed young couple, bunch of kids, baby in hand. And I believe that was the beginning of it all. So tell us, how did it start, and how did you decide to basically move your family to Zaire?
Would you like to start?
Well, when the story started, actually, there was only 3 little boys, but between when it started and when we actually left, a 4th little boy came along. But it started, we were involved in a mission conference, and there was a need put before the conference of a team of people to go to the eastern side of Zaire, as it was then, the eastern side, which is a really fraught with trouble and danger side in a long history, to help the people there with a number of a variety of areas of life and work. And one of them was a medical side, and that's where we came into it, really.
And I heard the guy talking about what it would take to actually go, and I just got sort of moved by the need. And I came out of the meeting, and Wendy was coming back from the children's program after picking them up, and I said to Wendy, I think we might be going to Africa. And she went, okay. So that was really how it started.
So you sold your practice and your home, or what? You just...
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
So the clinic, the first clinic that was your first project. So you started with what? How did you arrive? And I've seen some photographs of stuck in the mud type situations.
Look,
How did you start?
Literally stuck in the mud.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Look, we started from scratch. There was nothing there. The country was, one of the poorest in the world, and still is. There was no water supply or electricity supply, and there still isn't. And when we arrived there, we were told that we'd have a house, a car, and a clinic. When we got there was no house, there was no car, and the clinic was mud bricks up to waist height. So the clinic was a health centre, and the dentistry was only going to be a part of it. When the container arrived that had all the missionaries' belongings and our dental equipment and building supplies and things like that, when that arrived in March 1988, people had been asking for the 3 months that we'd been there, when are you going to start? And so we started in the vestry of the Anglican Church. And this was just a room with wooden shutters on the window. The wind blew off the field out the back, out the front of the church where the kids played soccer. And we just got benches from the church, and we had 44-gallon drums, and we hired a girl to carry water from the source, which was the well about 2 kilometres away. And we had to make it up from the beginning. I had an A-deck porta cart, and I had a generator and a compressor, and we just set up in there and did the best that we could in the early stages. And we were like that for about 5 or 6 months until the health centre was then completed, and we moved into that, and we had 3 small rooms.
That grew. That's right. That grew. So over the time. So that first time we were there with the children until the country fell apart, and we all had to evacuate out a couple of times, and decided to bring the kids home and then just go back short term. So all through that time, it was really just simple training individually of people because there was no infrastructure in the whole country. There was no universities or anything like that. There was no legal training. So it was really establishing things and training people as they came, as we were part of their world, sort of thing, as it went on. And back then also that's right, isn't it great, that any sort of medical work, any even education work was it was only done by the churches within the area, the local churches, not overseas. It was just literally that's where medical work was all done. It was under all the different churches. They were doing it. And so we were a part of that. It was really strategic to be a part of that and just to train. And then how the dental school developed and multiple clinics out of that as well was because the country changed, didn't it, Gray?
You could just somehow steal a pair of forceps and set up your own practice and just be a village practitioner and then, create lots of havoc and harm.
And we saw a lot of results of that over the years.
A lot of local stuff. Screwdrivers, knives used to extract teeth, and it was pretty bad. And so we were evacuated out of Zaire at the end of 91, twice, in September and then October. And you
were evacuated because of disturbances,
of rioting, and
the whole country was imploding. It was imploding, literally.
So it became too dangerous for the family with 4 little kids to stay there. The second time we were evacuated, we came home. And then the thing is that when you work with people for that long, they become your friends. They become part of your family. They helped us to survive over there. Mm-hmm. And so we couldn't just turn our back on them and say, well, we're back in Australia and life is easy and I'll just get another practice. So we continue to try and help out in various ways. And over the next 23 years, I made 14 short-term visits back there. But right in the middle of that were the 2 Congo wars. The first one where Mobutu was overthrown, and then the second one where surrounding countries were trying to take control of the resources of the country. So there were 5 million people killed during that time, but it hardly made the papers in the outside in the world.
The world news, yeah.
And so in 2004, one of the guys, two guys turned up, and I trained them in the early days. And one of those guys came from a different tribal area. So during the Second Congo War, it was too dangerous to stay where he was. So we helped him to get back with his family to a place called Aru in the northeastern part of Congo, just near the Ugandan border.
And South Sudan, yeah.
And South Sudan, sort of in that corner. And he sent us a message saying, there are a lot of people suffering from dental problems here. Could you help us with some equipment? So we raised some money and we went over, and that was the second clinic that we set up. And then in 2009, 2010, I started taking some students from Sydney University, final year students, to show them dentistry in Africa. And out of that, a third clinic was evolved, and we went to visit to kind of plan the dental school so that it would be, purpose built. And when we got there, the dental course was a disaster. It was really struggling, and so we looked at each other and thought, the kids are okay, the grandkids are okay, what if we come back for another couple of years? So it ended up being 5, and that's how the dental school evolved. We got 9 ADEC 500 dental chairs that were donated. So it's a very good dental facility now, and it's got good. It's producing dentists with competencies.
So during the time that we lived there, during the time we lived there, this time, we had 3 groups of students through we insisted on trained nurses to start with, experienced trained nurses, Congolese, so that they actually had that background, and so you could build on that and just focus, where you needed to focus. So over the time, and and then also, as we may have said, but in the end, before we left a year ago, or just over a year ago, we were able to establish, even through the pandemic, we were able to actually establish 10 clinics in total, sort of scattered up and down that eastern side. So with the aim in a country like that, where the stability is still very shaky. You might lose one of those clinics, so you don't ever put your eggs all in one basket in a place like that. To be able to spread it, so we were able to do that, weren't we? Which was amazing. It was it was just amazing. We're working with great people over there, and great support back here.
Yeah, only works with really good staff that you can trust, and. The team that we've got over there, by and large, have been absolutely tremendous over the last 30-odd years. And in 2018, I was in the clinic one day with William, our senior dentist, who I trained 30 years before. And so over the years, William has become the best oral surgeon in that whole eastern side of Congo for 1,000 kilometres or more. And he was wiring up a fractured jaw from a motorbike accident.
The second of the day. The second of the day.
They would do that day. And I was standing in the back taking photographs, and he's training the young guys that we had in the course and the ones who had graduated, who'd stayed on. And I was thinking, this guy's amazing. Like he's got a diploma in nursing from 30 years ago, but he's got no credentials whatsoever. So I wrote to the Dean of the Faculty at Sydney University, Chris Peck, and said, Chris, this guy is amazing. Is there anything you can do? Could he get an honorary degree? So the Senate met and discussed the proposal, and they gave him an honorary doctorate of dental science, which was just amazing. And we were able to bring him and a guest with him, so that he didn't sort of have the experience with not being able to share it with anyone from Congo. And they came out, was
just before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Well, early
in March 2019. And he was the guest of honour at the Great Hall in Sydney University, and it was the most amazing experience. And he said, this honour isn't for me, it's for the people of Congo. That was kind of like the peak of our teaching career, to be able to achieve something like that for William.
That is something that it's not just it's a wonderful story, but it's built on everything that transpired from the first days you went to that empty field and began to treat people. And now you are officially retired from the program, or are you still involved? Yeah, you never really retire.
No, that's right. No, we're actually hoping, but the way the pandemic has gone on in the world, but we are hoping to go back and up the key people from those 10 clinics out into Uganda together to just do a week together, and just for them to be able to share. I mean, they share within, sort of in the country, but to bring them out into Uganda, into Kampala, where there are some dental supply companies where there's nothing in Congo. They all have to somehow get their supplies, their sundries and supplies from over in Uganda or Rwanda, some of them who are in the south. And so to bring them out and to show them where they're actually getting their supplies, and to, that's what we would hope to still do. And we're hoping to do that even this year, depending on how things go, just to go back for a couple of weeks and bring them out. It's too difficult really for us to go back into Congo. Our permanent visas have expired and it's very expensive. And
Congo is not an easy place to get into. You have to be invited in, and it's very expensive. So, it's better to go to Uganda and bring them out than it is to actually go in.
So that we're hoping still
around.
To do that. And of course we're in touch. Even though there's no electricity in that whole area or running water in most of it, in all of that area, but. they still have mobile phones, and and so we do have WhatsApp messages every now and again, or photos of unusual patient and problems that they'll send through, not for us to solve, but just to show us what they're doing, and it's just
ameloblastomas like this,
and
fractured jaws, and the usual.
I definitely don't think the word retire was the right one to use. It sounds like very active and obviously connected. Graham and Wendy, you're a dynamic duo, and you've done some amazing work in Africa. I think the important thing is not just what you did for those people, which I believe is still ongoing, and it has its seeds that have blossomed into students became doctors, and doctors became teachers, and it's an unending cycle of which I'm sure you're very proud, and deservedly so. But many people will look and say, well, if these guys can do it, I can do it, or I can do something like that, or there is an element in my life or in my orbit where I can make a contribution. And on the behalf of the International College of Dentists and all that will be viewing this program, I want to thank you very much for opening up your life story and for being a role model for many, many people.